we're live right across the country tonight. We're with the Harris and Trump camps, and we're in some of the key battleground states that will decide this election. As we've said, James Matthews will be with Team Trump in Florida. Martha Kellner is here in Washington, D.C. With the Kamala Harris team. Dominic Waghorn is in Pennsylvania, where, as Lewis was saying, there are 19 electoral votes up for grabs. Cordelia Lynch is in Georgia for us with 16 electoral votes. Michigan has 16 electoral votes, and our Yusra El-Bagir is there for us. And Shigi Marike is in Arizona, where there are 11 electoral college votes. Let's go straight to our James Matthews, who, as I said, is with Team Trump in Florida. And James, earlier in the day, we saw Donald Trump and the former First Lady. They were casting their vote. I've also just seen a little, he doesn't put anything out on, I guess he does now on X, but Truth Social as well. He put out a bit of a tweet.
Yeah, hi, Alda. He's been busy on social media, indeed, in the past few minutes, posting this. A lot of talk, Donald Trump, about massive cheating in Philadelphia. Law enforcement coming, he posts. Now, this is an individual who opponents say will try to style this election as corrupted, should he lose it, and a man who has been laying the ground for a legal challenge. So I suppose the question is that statement feeding into that master plan? Will he come here, as he intends to, the convention center in West Palm Beach? He's not far from here. He's in Mar-a-Lago. He'll have his own personal watch party with the great and the good. He will come here at some point to give a speech, and this place is getting busy, Yalda. Dozens of media already gathering at the front of the stage in the mosh pit before the stage. What will Donald Trump say? That's the question. When he comes here, as he's expected to in the middle of the night, will he declare victory despite what's happening at the vote count centers? That's what he has done before in the past. So will we see a Donald Trump who is trying to shape this result his way, no matter what the figures are telling us over the course of the night?
And Martha, you're not too far away from where I am. I'm hearing mixed things from the Harris camp. They're telling me they're certainly feeling very anxious right now.
Yeah, anxious, but I'm also hearing cautiously optimistic. They think that Kamala Harris could well have outperformed the polling, may in fact be ahead of Donald Trump, but take that with a pinch of salt. I'm at Kamala Harris's campaign headquarters here at Howard University in Washington, D.C. It also happens to be one of America's largest historically black colleges. Kamala Harris graduated from here in 1986 with a politics and economics degree. Could she return to the stage behind me as America's first female president? That stage is still being built. Bulletproof glass is being installed around the Speaker's lectern. As for Kamala Harris, after the madness of the 3 months that has gone before, the most truncated presidential campaign in history, she's having a quieter day today. She made a few appearances on radio stations, making last-minute appeals to voters. She's also performed a few vice presidential duties, and she made a surprise visit to Democratic Party campaign staff elsewhere in D.C. But as I say, her team are saying that they're cautiously optimistic, but I think they're aware, this country is aware, that there could well be a tense and long night and few days ahead.
Indeed. Let's go to our Cordelia Lynch now in Georgia. And Cordy, I mean, Georgia is one of the first states that we're going to be looking at because, of course, polls close in less than 2 hours.
That's right, and we've seen record-breaking early voter turnout in Georgia. More than 4 million people voting early, 700,000 today, and we are expecting 75% of the vote to be counted within 2 hours of the polls closing. We're told we could expect a result by midnight. Now, back in 2020, Joe Biden turned the state blue for the first time in nearly 30 years. If Kamala Harris wants to repeat that success She needs to get a lot of support from black voters in Atlanta, where I am, but also in the more diverse, more affluent suburbs as well. But two words on everyone's lips here in Georgia: election integrity. We have already seen 5 non-credible bomb threats in Fulton County, where I am today alone. The FBI say they appear to emanate from Russia. The Secretary of State in Georgia says they will not be intimidated, but this is a hotly contested and very contentious race.
Well, let's bring in our Yusra El-Bagir, who joins me now from Michigan. And Yusra, Michigan, one of those crucial swing states for Kamala Harris, part of the Blue Wall, the Rust Belt. She really needs this state to deliver for her. But you've been there all week, speaking to uncommitted voters, speaking to some of her supporters, but also speaking to Donald Trump supporters.
Absolutely, Yalda. I mean, Michigan is a swing state, but it's also significant as a bellwether state, an indicator of who might be the next president of the United States. They voted for the winning presidential candidate over the last 4 elections, starting with Obama in 2008, and they broke their 30 years of voting for the Democratic presidential candidate by voting for Trump in 2016, and then Biden narrowly won it by 2.8% in 2020. So it's anyone's guess who will win here. I mean, we've been speaking to people across the state, and I could really feel why this is a bellwether state, why it's such an indicator of how this race could go, because there's just a cross-section of American society here. I mean, you've got a huge black population, you've got a huge immigrant population, Arab Americans discontented, infuriated by the Biden-Harris support for unwavering support for Israel during its military offensive in Gaza and now in Lebanon. You've got young working class people, working class families who've been reliant on the automobile industry, hoping that Trump can revive the economy. But you've also got students in campuses across Michigan who are backing Harris, who want to keep their rights intact and are fully supporting her in her presidential bid. So as the polls close, we're expecting them to close at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 a.m. UK. We'll start to see what the picture looks like in Michigan, and that could be a sign as to how the country will vote.
Well, let's go to Pennsylvania and speak to our Dominic Waghorn. And Dom, I mean, a treasure trove of electoral college votes. All eyes have been, for the past few months, on Pennsylvania. Both campaigns have saturated that state with so many ads.
They have, and we've had the candidates coming here again and again because Pennsylvania, quite simply and literally, could well be the king or queen maker swing state in this election, not just because it has that demographic mix that kind of reflects what is happening in other swing states, but also because it has those prize, as you say, 19 electoral college votes, and it is split down the middle. It was taken by Donald Trump in 2016 by a margin of less than 1%. Joe Biden took it back for the Democrats 4 years later by just over 1%, and it really is, according to opinion polls, split right down the middle. And it is inconceivable, all but impossible, for anyone to take the White House without taking Pennsylvania along the way, unless there is a major upset in this election. But the bad news for all of us is that it is also likely to be amongst the slowest to return a result because of the rules they have about counting mail-in ballots. They can't start doing so till the morning of the election, unlike some of the other swing states. So back in 2020, it took till Saturday before this state returned a result, declaring it for Joe Biden by that very narrow margin. And in those days, when Donald Trump saw the election slipping away from him, he used that vacuum to fill it with suspicion, scurrilous rumours of election fraud and frivolous lawsuits. And he seems to be beginning to do so again now already, even while the counting is underway. So it is very consequential, this stake. A lot is at stake here. They say they've raised their game here. They've bought buildings like this, a former Bible factory, filling it with hundreds of vote counters. But will that be enough to a return result tonight? Probably not. Could be days before we hear how this very important swing state has voted.
Yeah, very much so. Let's go to one of the Sunbelt states now and speak to our Shingi Mararike, who joins us from Arizona. So many issues on the ballot today, isn't there, Shingi? I mean, abortion rights, Senate seats, and, of course, the keys to the White House.
That's right, Yalden. This is one of those reliably Republican states that Joe Biden was able to win last time, winning by just over 10,000 votes, a very narrow margin. And this is also a state with a diverse ethnic makeup, one that's becoming increasingly diverse, particularly when you look at Maricopa County, where we are, where Phoenix is. 1 in 4 voters are of Latin American origin. Whoever wins here will need to fold them into their coalition of voters in order to do that here. And I just want to talk a bit about where we are. So we're at a polling station here in Scottsdale, which is in Maricopa County, where 6 in 10 voters in Arizona are. And the queue here has been around 30 minutes long for much of the day. You can see people going in there. And as you mentioned, Jowda, the ballot is two-sided. It is 79 separate votes, including the presidential election, but also vital bellwether issues like abortion, like immigration, things that both candidates will want people to turn out and vote for them on. Kamala Harris scores well on abortion, while we know that Donald Trump scores well on immigration. But I also think, like Dominic Reichman was saying there, this is one of those ground zeros for election concerns, because last time a number of armed protesters turned out outside of the tabulation center after the vote. Arizona typically will return its vote between 10 and 13 days. That's when all the ballots will be counted. And a defining feature of this election is the fact that we have one candidate already calling the result into question before the votes are counted. This is one of those places where that could happen. All eyeballs will be on Arizona if this election is as close as we think it might be.